Hello, this is the SOS podcast or the Sempin on Sunday podcast because we're missing two of the people that were meant to be here. Brody had to work at Ace Hardware. He said he had to do something later this afternoon. And then Juan, I feel like every time I talk to Juan, his parents are just pissed off at him. He can't do shit.
He's either in traffic because of a car wreck, or either his parents are mad. So
yeah, you ever notice that? Like, you talk to Juan, he's like, yeah, I'm going to be half an hour late. There was, a car crash, outside my driveway, you know?
That's how it always goes.
I know. So, this week, on Friday, we played a little bit of D&D with a couple of the crew, Tyler, regular on the show, and Drew, he was on the episode 3 of the podcast.
How's it going, guys?
So, we have a lot to talk about today because I thought that it'd be a cool idea to talk about storytelling, just like what we did. So I want to talk about how much of a fuck up this was leading up to it. I thought it was going to be a terrible session. So we ran it Friday. Absolutely nothing was prepared. Everything was prepared at the last minute. Grace had to go to work. Antonia had to go do some chores. And we were 2 people short. So I had to call people up last minute. I got Drew on it and I got Jacob Harry on it. And even then, you guys didn't even fill in your character sheets until we got there. So it was an hour late and I was like, oh, Jesus. This is going to be a bad session. I was tearing hair out. But you know what? I think it was actually a decent session.
It was.
Right?
I thought it went really well.
Yeah.
It was fun.
So we had sort of a hybrid mix of newcomers and veterans, right? So Tyler is here to represent the newcomers, and Drew is here to represent the battle-hardened D&D players.
By battle-hardened, you mean 3 sessions prior to this one.
Well, yeah, but you've DM'd, so, if anybody's battle-scarred, it's probably, you. So, what were your thoughts, Tyler, when I first asked you to hop into the fray, play a little bit of D&D?
Well, my first thoughts were, it was this actually might be pretty fun, because I've seen a lot of people play the game, but I don't I've never played personally myself, so I didn't know what exactly would be expected. I didn't know what any of these numbers mean, any of the strength and dexterity and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know what any of it was, and so it was kind of interesting to walk into it and I don't know, it was just kind of your own kind of story, and you had to choose your own character, and I don't know, I just thought it was interesting, and it was all an imagination kind of thing, and I kind of like that I kind of like that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest appeals to Dungeons and Dragons, at least in my opinion, is that when you're a kid, you love to read these novels of these great adventures. Everyone loves the Percy Jackson series and the Harry Potter series, and they're I want to be that character, but I can't because we live in the real world. And D&D is kind of the closest thing you can to live out that novel-like life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, how did D&D culturally touch you before this? How did you come to realize, even if you didn't play it, how did you come to learn about D&D?
So my dad actually played back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's an old schooler.
Yeah,
okay.
D&D Advanced. He actually went in his garage the other day and brought out his old books and figurines, which was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that was how the first time I heard about it. But I always assumed okay, you need a group of people to play. That's never gonna happen. So I never really tried to play until one of my friends came home from college, and he's like, guys, you got to try out this game, Dungeons and Dragons. I know what you're thinking, but it's fun. And we're like, why the hell not? So then we played and we loved it.
One thing I love about this game is there's probably been experiences like that for 40 years now. 4 decades. People have been coming home oh, guys, there's this new game. It's called Dungeons and Dragons. You guys are going to love it. I just love that. So, Tyler, when it comes to you, how did this game touch you prior to this? How did you know about it? Were there any references to culture that might have circulated your way, or?
I learned about the game because of Stranger Things, the show.
Yeah.
They played in that, and so I watched the show, and I was like, well, those little kids look like they're having fun. I was I want to have some fun.
Yeah, I think one of the really good things Stranger Things did for the game was put it in a more positive light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, it kind of had the stigma.
Yeah, people
attached.
thought it was sweaty nerds playing in the basement.
Yeah,
which,
but if you think about
which
it,
was even in the show.
They brought the game to life if you think about it, because what was it, like the Mind Flayer, like that's like the main like bad guy that takes over like the little kid. And so it's kind of interesting because we were talking about in our game we had tried to add a Mind Flayer that was like one of the main villains. And so I thought it was kind of interesting how they like lined up like that, and I was like, wow, like they really took these characters from like this game and put it into a show, and I thought it was just really interesting. And so for people who've like seen the show and like, you know, you're like, oh, like, you know, it's just Dungeons and Dragons, that's for nerds. Like, no, like I would definitely try it. Like Dungeons and Dragons was actually really fun, and like it's I don't know how to explain it. Like you really just gotta try it for yourself. Like it seems confusing and it's a lot of setup in the beginning, but I promise once the game actually starts, it's actually a lot of fun. If you have a good Dungeon Master though, if you don't have Dragon Master, I mean.
Yeah, Dragon Master.
Yeah,
so you were right the first time.
Okay, sweet. Okay,
Yeah,
sweet.
So let's get to some of those difficulties. You know, let's talk about how like the work is definitely front ended on D&D. You know, like for the players and especially the DM coming into it, you have to put all your numbers, get all your little eggs in a row.
Yeah, especially for new players, the character creation is definitely a little bit of a hassle.
That's where most of the difficulty curve is when it comes to all this stuff. They'll see all these numbers, they'll see all the different dice you have to roll. They'll be turned off right away.
I would definitely recommend if you're not like if you're like a new like comer like me, I would definitely recommend playing with some like veterans that actually know what they're doing, so then they can like hit you up with like the good points. You know what I'm saying?
Or,
like, even though it's a roll of the dice, but like. I didn't know what I was doing, and they were like, well, this spell would probably be better than this one. And so I would change it out, and it kind of helped us out later in the game. So
if you're interested in, like, just starting out without having, like, any veteran players or anything, the D&D starter set is actually a really good
that too.
first way to get into it, because it gives you a basic rule book without a lot of the complicated stuff, and pre-made character sheets, so you don't have to go through the hassle of that as well.
Yeah, we're seeking a sponsorship by Wizards of the Coast, actually. So if you're listening to this, give us a little bit of money. We'll take it. We'll take it. So we're designing our characters. We're getting down to business, and I think that it's about time that we introduce like the faces that came about in the Wednesday. I gave you guys the character sheets. Well, Tyler, Antonia, whoever, you know, on Wednesday. Of course, Drew got it a little bit later, but you had to develop your characters in 3 days or like 30 minutes. So there's a little bit of variation there. But I think it's time that we focus on the faces that we brought to the table, and especially the ones that we remembered best. So, Tyler, who was your character?
My character was called Peter Dominion. He was a gnome, very small guy, but he was a wizard, though. He was smart. He was one of those optimistic guys who, if he was put in a situation, he could get himself out of it. I kind of like to think of him as like a Jack Sparrow kind of guy, kind of goofy, but if he needed to get himself out, he could. He was also very selfish, and he had a hedgehog. His hedgehog was named Big Smoke. Hashtag Big Smoke. Anyways, no, but yeah. So he had the hedgehog, and so he was very good with his words, and he was very for the money. So if it was the path of the money, that's the way he wanted to go. He tried bargaining one time, did not really work out, but we ain't gonna talk about that.
And we'll get to some of the bargaining later, but Tyler, do you remember how we got all the details of your characters for you? We were in the Chick-fil-A, and we sat you down, and I was like, okay, mister, and then you didn't know your name, and I was like, okay, you're off to a great start. Don't even know your name. And we just went down the list. We made your character that way. Yeah. Of course, Drew wasn't afforded the same luxury. He had to make his character in 30 minutes.
I came about at 3:15, and we started at 4. So
no, I think we started around like 4:30. Juan got there like half an hour late because of the car crash. Yeah, it's always the car crashes.
Yeah. So I had been called up at about 2:32, and I was like, shoot, I gotta make a character now. Yeah. So I thought about it a little bit, going into the session, and I had this whole thing planned out for either a wizard or a fighter. Then I got there, I looked in the rulebook, then I saw a monk existed, and I was like, screw it, I'm going for the monk.
Yes. Now, you've seen Marisha's monk, you know, Beauregard. Of course, that's Critical Role. Such a badass class. Absolutely love monks.
That's where I got the inspiration. Yeah. I wanted to be a little bit different type of monk in personality though, but I decided to go for a more quiet, good-hearted monk that's devoted to protecting life.
We definitely needed that in the composition of this party because we had a lot of chaos going on between Jacob, Tyler, and Juan.
Well, I was more of a neutral guy, but Juan, he wanted to be evil,
Chaotic
chaotic
evil.
evil. And
So let's get to Juan's character, because he was the Dragonborn, and he had like the fury of just hell within him.
That is true. There was a ogre that broke in within the first 2 seconds, and he just lit his face out fire, just straight up, just lit it at him.
there was alcohol, just flammable alcohol, just everywhere. And we'll get to this, but like he just didn't give a fuck, and he just like all over it. So
he was a dragon, and so basically, what's the race called?
Dragonborn.
Dragonborn. That's what it was. Yeah. So he was a fire dragon, and so basically he was always the one to go into a bar and be like, hey, what's up? How's it going? And try to give everybody high fives, but then I feel like also try to steal the wallet behind them. So
that's facts, though. That's facts. And of course, the last member of our 4-man party was Jacob. He decided to be a Minotaur. I can't tell you too much about his background, but 7 foot tall. He's big contrast to Tyler, who's like 4 foot something, and Tyler is like 5 foot something in real life. So it's not distorting the truth. We're not that far.
I picked a gnome.
So let's introduce our audience to some of the other characters, because obviously we have the player characters, but we also have some really fun like NPC characters.
That's true.
So one of the first ones that is introduced to the players is Mr. Volanthamp Geta. So British fellow, feather cap, like a hustler, a writer, historian. So he's a sketchy character. What did you guys think when you saw this guy?
Didn't trust him.
When I first started, Volanthamp is my acquaintance.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk into the bar, I see this guy. He starts talking to me, and like, oh, it's that kind of friend.
Yeah.
The one that's always trying to get you to yeah, trust me, no, my business is gonna work out so well. You got it.
And we could get later on. We can get to how sketchy he is, because Mr. Volanthamp Geta, very sketchy, and very British. Yes. Next we have Xavier. He was the shop owner, and I understand that you two actually didn't go to see the shop owner.
I was a wizard at the point, and so he said the purple smoke.
Okay,
out.
so
so I was like, that's some voodoo.
They're
stuff
wandering the streets, and they go down, and they see like this garish like purple shop that just has violet smoke just billowing out from under the door. And then Juan and Jacob, they're like, we gotta go in there. And then Tyler and Drew are like, I'm gonna hang back.
Carrick Lydon is not a huge fan of cities. Much prefers animals, nature to people. So I tend to stay out of that.
Well, that's such a shame, because Xavier, he was such a savory character. He was probably my favorite accent.
So he offered him firecrackers.
Yeah,
for a map or something like that.
And Jacob didn't get to use that, but he sold you guys the map. He sold you firecrackers, so he got you on the road.
That's true.
Next, you had Commissioner Stages, and let's go chronologically. The bartender.
Yes.
My favorite accent that I did the entire session. Oh my god! What did you guys think of the bartender?
He infuriated me. We had to keep interrupting him to get to the point.
Yeah, so the bartender talked a little like this, and he would stop and not stop talking about how his slippers... He had this habit of just going on all these tangents that had nothing to do at all with what they were concerned about. Absolutely loved it.
That was my favorite NPC.
Yeah,
you played that one very well.
That was hilarious. I love that, man.
So we also had Commissioner Stages. He was the cop that you guys ruthlessly beat the shit out of.
So we hit up in this room, in this dark alley. We were in at this building, and so we're in this room, and we hear a shout coming from outside, like, hey, you're not supposed to be in there. So we get ready to attack whoever the hell is about to walk in, and turns out we almost end up killing our only ally.
we cranked the man. We smacked him so hard. No, we didn't smack him.
It was me.
You could have definitely
Carrick.
You could have definitely killed one of the more important NPCs if Jacob had actually hit his axe. Because Jacob routinely did 14 points of damage to all these enemies that you had. So
I think I ended up doing 11.
You did 11. Well, Jacob hits 14. He would have been on the floor.
I just can't imagine. What if we did kill him? That would have messed up the whole story.
That would have been interesting, 100%. So, do you think that I could convince you to do an accent, Tyler.
Me?
Because you went in there, you did your like American
I
shtick.
had a sort of a voice
Well,
like
I
this.
mean, like,
Yeah.
when it came down to it, I didn't know what to do for, like, a gnome. And, like, you guys were like, oh, like, short and shrimpy. But I was like, nah.
Here, right now on the show, try something out.
That-
Try
that's
something
like-
out. Yeah, let's
Let's hear it.
audition for us.
Audition. I don't
Yeah,
even
yeah.
know.
You got maybe
okay,
like
okay.
a little high British.
High British. Okay. I don't even know how to do British accents. That's the problem.
Just do
You
high.
like up here? That's how a gnome
There you go.
talks.
Like an old
I can't do that,
person,
though.
but like kind of raspy, but high as well. Try that.
How's it supposed to be old, raspy, but high?
Like-
Okay.
Like this.
Exactly like you
Bro,
do.
I'm gonna sound like I'm from Lucky Charms.
Try it out.
Try a
Try it
Jar
out.
Jar Binks.
Okay.
You
So try. How about that?
Sound like a leprechaun. Go for a leprechaun. That's what you need.
Top of the morning to ya.
Top in the morning to ya.
Yeah,
Like that,
yeah.
that's
yeah.
good.
Of course,
I like
it,
that.
Try
it'll
that.
take a little bit of practice, but I think it definitely immerses you more. Like if I went in here and I did like an American accent the entire time, you guys wouldn't be invested as much.
That
But
is
you
true.
know,
That is true.
I think the accents definitely
like the
push you in.
accents, the music. You
But
got to
I'm just
have
not-
all this
It,
immersion.
it elevates the experience.
I'm
just
like,
a
I was
little
going to try to go for like a more like deep kind of gnome. And be like, yo, what's up?
bit. Yo, what's up? Like 4'3",
Yeah,
but just
yeah.
talks all
You're
the
like
way
200
down
on the
here.
table right now. Like 200.
It'd be kind of weird.
That
Yeah,
would
it would
be
be
that would
weird.
be a little bit weird.
But it'd make it interesting.
And I'll see if I can't get Juan and Jacob to do accents too.
Yeah, we need them to do accents.
Jacob
I'll
doesn't
try to
strike
do
me.
accents next time, but
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah, Jacob doesn't strike me as somebody that'll do an accent very easy, but I'll force him to do an accent. So, well, I'll drag him kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
Just give them voice modulators.
Yeah. That's what we'll do. Next time I'll have we'll record the whole thing. I'll put some voice mods on everybody, so you can just automatically sound like your character. So we're gonna get to the story now. Now that we've sort of introduced you to all of the characters, so we start our story in the city of Waterdeep. Deep within the slums of the impoverished dock ward. It's a dark night, and the torrential rain beats against the rotted wood of the tavern, the Yawning Portal. An elven man enters the bar just to see Tyler get flung across the table. So, Drew walks in, Carrick walks in, and he sees a minotaur picking a gnome up by the collar and throwing him across the bar.
And I reacted by face palming and then sitting down.
Yeah.
You went over to the booth. You took a moment to look around. Where's Volendamp? And then you just went to a lounge and just meditated
Hey, but let me tell
on
you,
the table.
when I got flung, I ran. As soon as I
That
got
is true,
flung,
you were
I
quick.
ran.
You were
I ran
quick
a
on your
good
feet.
couple paces.
You are quick on your feet, and you spilled the beer on Juan,
Oh yeah.
and then he was like, "Damn, it wasn't the Minotaur that flung the gnome across the table. It was the
the
little twerp
gnome."
gnome, wasn't it?" So he got up and he was chasing you across the bar
So they
too.
were all chasing me basically at that point. But
And
then,
with a -1 charisma, I somehow managed to persuade them to stop.
So Drew's just sitting on the table. He's meditating, and then he's like, "Guys, cut this shit out." And then they all just stopped. And in that next moment, an ogre just like peels like the bars that were like holding the together, like the sewer and the bar. So an ogre crawls out, 9 foot tall, and then you guys are all just like, "Well, shit, I guess we got to take on the ogre together." I don't know. Funny how a good bar fight brings everybody together, huh?
yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that fight went pretty well.
It was pretty clean. It was pretty clean.
Yeah.
The only person that got fucked up was Dernan, the barkeep.
Well, I mean, I got like hit by a table because somebody wanted to march straight through. I didn't even take any damage from the ogre. Like the whole fight, I took no damage. But because of Jacob, he charged straight through and the table hit me, and I got damaged.
You got knocked up against the wall. That was great.
I
Yeah.
feel like I had a nice finishing touch to the ogre, though.
Yeah. So Drew gets the "How do you want to do this?" move, and
Hopped
he
up onto the bar, leapt up at the ogre, swung my staff right on top,
right on the
backflip-
skull. Right on the skull.
backflipped off and landed on the bar, hero style.
I was like, stick goes like 10 inches into the skull of this like ogre. It compresses and it's just like staggers and it falls to the ground. So that shit was awesome. But like they decide to sit down at the bar, bond over some drinks, some ale, And then Volanthamp Geta comes over out of nowhere, and he's like, "Sonny boy, Carrick, it's great to see ya." Except it was like an English accent. He's like, "I have a quest for you. I lost one of my friends, and I need your help." And you guys were all very hesitant.
Well,
Very
I think at first we were.
At first, you were like, "Oh, somebody's offering us gold."
And then he offered the gold, but then I made an insight check.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't think this guy's really got the gold, does he?
And that one insight check led to, like, no joke, 10 minutes of cross-examination.
I feel like it was more than 10 minutes.
It
It was
was-
a long
it was a
time.
long-
It was almost
time.
down the path of campaign or Sky Pirates. It would have been one of the two. It would not. It would have been bad.
So Volanthamp, he has this small bag of gold, like, 10 gold right now. You need to find my friend Fleck, and I'll pay you 100 gold later. Drew does the insight check. He's, like, visibly sweating, and you guys decide that, well, you need to offer us a sweetener. How are you going to get your money? And then you come to find that he's like a struggling writer. So you guys have your skepticism voiced, but you inevitably decide to accept the quest.
Yeah.
So how do you think the party came to cohere around something like this sketchy guy that was like, "Well, I've got a watch. It's worth 50 gold. I have some bank bonds.
Well, I think
All his assets are here and there. You don't know if he's going to get you
Pressure
this stuff."
from the DM.
Pressure from the DM.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I mean that, but like also, I think it was like my character also like whenever he was trying to bargain, I was like, nah, 200, not 100, 200 right now, and then I lost the bargaining, so that wasn't very like cool, I guess. But then like later on, we had to buy a room for the night or something like that.
Uh-huh.
The guy offered us a room, the bartender, and so it was like 2 silver coins for a room each, and so. Carrick over here, he didn't want to share a room, so he got his own room, and everybody was like arguing, who's the room, who's the room? So we completely forgot about the mission at that point. But then we are like, oh wait, the mission. And then I was like, and then I came back out bargaining again. I was like, look, you're an intelligent man. I was like, so if you pay for our rooms, we might consider doing this quest.
I think we also bargained for, if available, then it has to be 100 gold each.
Yes.
Well.
Yeah. And so basically at that point, then we talked about it. It was like, all right, he's already paid for the room, so we kind of can't back out at this point. And also, he said he's going to give us 100 each. So I think it's a deal. And plus, if he doesn't, we'll just kill him whenever we come back because we've already killed an ogre. And so basically, they're
Mind
like,
you,
"All right,
Tyler's
let's do it."
alignment is like neutral good, but you know,
Yeah, exactly.
these things happen, I guess.
It's for the money.
And he is, like, my acquaintance. So, like, of course I'm
You
neutral
need to be the
good, so
mediator.
I got to be the help.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so basically, we just offered if he didn't get the money when we come back, we're going to kill him. So we are like, all right, we'll take it. And so that's
Yeah, that was the compromise. for helping.
I'm looking forward to like the rest of the campaign. Drew being the voice of reason, and then Juan is just like the murder hobo that's just like, we need to kill him. We need to kill him. He didn't give us the money. Just murder him. This is gonna be a fun dynamic.
It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Well,
Yeah.
he didn't want to heal. He didn't want to heal the what you call it? Where's he at?
Commissioner stages.
Yeah,
We'll get back to that.
when Commissioner actually got down at one point, we were trying to convince him. It was like, you got he's
the cleric.
He's chaotic evil cleric, which is the worst combination. But we were like, this guy's got to be important to the story. You got to heal him for us, and it took a lot of
And
convincing.
he was like, no, I'm not going to do it. He was
I'd like to think that conversation happened in like a 6-second round
We had
where
to
you
g-
all shot him very scathing looks.
We had to give him 3 gold in order to convince him to do it.
hey man, it's hard bargain.
Everything's gonna be an uphill battle with Juan, I
I
think.
know.
So you guys cut the deal hesitantly. You guys retreat for a night's reprieve, and then you wake up the next morning, and he gives you more details on Fleck. He's like, okay, my good friend Fleck Blementhal, he's at the Skewered Dragon. He's a ginger fellow. He 30 years old, and then that's basically all that he's able to tell you. And then he sends you out to pursue all these different leads. So you guys hit the streets, and you're doing an examination, and you of course come across the shopkeep, the gnomish shopkeep.
Xavier.
Yes, Xavier. I think that I went over that pretty well.
Yeah.
He had a really, really great accent. Really loved him.
Very confused though. He did not know where his stuff was. He was like, "Oh, I got the thing for you," and go shuffling in the back.
He
About
was
4
like,
cans back.
"Oh, don't you worry, I got it, don't you
Hey,
worry."
we wouldn't know. We were even there.
Yeah, I know.
That's
But
true. You guys.
I was peeking through the window. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
But what's most crucial about getting him to talk to you guys is he had a map for sale, and this is like a quality map. Like, mind you, that this whole like D&D thing is like a module, so like there's a lot of stuff that's already pre-written.
Wizards
and
of the Coast, please sponsor us.
Please sponsor us. We have everything. We have so much funny. It's a great show. Anyways, this map, very high quality. You guys buy it, and then you're just spreading it across the table, and you guys have to look for the very particular alley and street. And that's real fun. And eventually, you guys end up at the Skewered Dragon. Very dilapidated establishment. So, you guys see this establishment. What are your thoughts?
Well, it was a dark alley. The first thing that we saw was that it was a dark alley. And you gotta imagine down this dark alley with like brick stone walls next to it, or I guess it was more like wooden walls. I guess I saw brick, but there was an eternal green flame at the end, and so we all had.
No! This is the Skewered Dragon. That's later.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's the warehouse. Man, I totally forgot about that. Yeah. So the Skewered Dragon. So we walked up, and it had like imagine like a saloon, right? And so it had like these swinging doors in front of it, and beyond the saloon, you can see these big hefty guys playing a bunch of cards, and you see them all smoking these long cigars and
Juan walks up right next to him, acting like he knows.
Oh
It was
my
like,
God.
Hey, what's up? And he
Yeah,
tried
no.
to make a charisma check or whatever, and then he fell on his face.
they're all sitting there we're like, oh man, should we go in? Like, what's the move, guys? Do we sneak in or what do we do? And then the one's like, I got it. Hey, what's going on? And he just goes
And
right
while he's
in.
doing that, I just walk up to the bartender, and we talked about him earlier. The worst bartender.
Now,
Funny
tell
though.
me what you want to know, because if you pay me now, I gotta work
We
at
want
the...
to know about Fleck.
I got the working
Fleck.
girls. Well, if you pay me 2 gold now, I can have a fun time with the girls down the way, and then I can tell you about the whatever the fuck.
And it went on like that for like 3 or 4 minutes. You guys got some details. You came to learn that minutes after that, actually like an hour or so after Volenthamp left the establishment, his friend walked out and was beaten the fuck up by like all these guys in like black armor or whatever.
Yeah.
And you guys don't really get anything out of that except the fact that they had a snake tattoo at the back of their neck. And you're like, well, we sort of came up empty. We don't really have a location or anything. But as you're walking out, somebody says, yeah, so they're going to be the people that you're looking for are on Candle Way. So, and then you guys are like, thanks, bro. Because the bartender was not fucking helpful at all.
He was not.
Thank you.
And
I
I
got
flip him
mad
the
at
gold.
him one time. I was banging the table and everybody stood up in the bar and like the music stopped and like everything was just like very high tense at a moment.
Like in the old westerns where they're like the guy's just playing the piano,
And I know
and
it's
then
just-
somebody like, and then they're just like, skirt. Everybody
Everybody
takes a
like
moment to
stands
look
up.
at it. Yeah. So you guys get the information. You find out that the person that you're looking for, Fleck, is on Candle Way. So you guys again use the map. You navigate all the way to this Candle Alley, and you peek down it, and it's probably the most foreboding thing that you've seen thus far in the campaign. What do you guys see as you're looking down this alley?
Well, we saw the eternal green flame, and so we were kind of sitting there, and we were kind of sketchy about it. So we had a lineup that we were gonna do. We were gonna have like, because 3 out of 4 of us had night vision, so that means we can see down these dark alleys, and like we're fine. And so we basically it's night vision, and so we walked down. We let Drew go first, and then it was no. It was Drew with the torch first.
And then it was you, and then...
No. It was Jacob after that. So it was you and then Jacob because he had to see because of the torch, and then it was me, and then it was Juan in the back, so then he can check and make sure nobody sneaks up behind us.
Yeah, so mind you that this, like, it was midday, and this alley was just so, like, tight that the sun couldn't even, like, penetrate the urban canopy, and it was just, like, completely pitch black.
Yeah.
So they had to go to this torch, and they were uneasily navigating down this alley, and there's just this lamppost at the end. There's just a green flame.
I'm just now realizing why it's called Candle Alley.
There's just one candle.
Because there's one candle at the end of the out. Oh my God! Whoa! What was that? So
I just realized that's the thing. So that's crazy. Okay. Anyways, continue.
you're on the outside of this establishment, and you see a snake emblem on the door of this place.
Like the tattoo. Yeah.
Yes, like the tattoo. You don't know what the tattoo exactly looked like, but you're like, oh, serpent, snake.
Yeah.
They connected the dots, and you basically. This took a while because you guys took like 15 minutes to decide the approach you wanted to go into the building. You guys were so indecisive when you were entering this warehouse. So what was your thought process? Do you think I was really going to jump you before you even got into the building?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought this place was gonna be
I-
like.
You got
100%
no
that
trust,
was gonna
no
happen.
trust whatsoever.
I thought this place
You're
was
the
gonna be
DM.
smacked. I thought this place was gonna be loaded full of like bad guys just like sitting at the door, and I thought it was gonna be like one of those things where it's like and you like nailing the door, and then the guy's got like the signing thing like, and he's like, "What's the passcode?"
passcode?
And
Yeah,
I, like,
I thought it was gonna be one of those things. And I was like, "Oh shit!"
not only that, like we're coming to rescue someone, you know, like so that's not the kind of thing you're just like, hey, can we borrow this guy real quick? We need to rescue him. It's something you
Yeah.
got to execute like a plan,
Yeah.
a stealth mission,
and you ju-
sneak in, get him out. No one knows.
Well,
Say-
I guess our stealth mission didn't go that well
No,
because
it didn't. I forget who.
so
ruined it.
somebody stumbled a little bit, and there was somebody that peeked out from the boxes and just up the stairs.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
see, one of the things that kind of tripped me up in there is you're talking about like a raven-like creature starts walking up the steps, and if I had realized what it was at that moment, I was like, oh shoot, we're about to go into combat. But in my mind, I was picturing like an actual bird hopping up the steps one at a time.
Oh, but it couldn't have been that quick. It would have been like don't. But it was like you have to pay attention to the onomatopoeia.
Yeah.
It's very important. Very important.
Big words right there.
Well, yeah. You know that's a English vocabulary word or whatever.
is.
So, you guys are assessing this warehouse, and I'm very impressed because I had a whole ass map set up. I don't always use maps. Most times I'm just like battlefield of the mind. You can imagine it yourself because it's a lot of effort to draw up a map. But I drew up a map, and you guys sort of navigate this warehouse. So
I think I kind of prefer the maps. It's
Yeah.
a lot. It makes it easier to visualize the battle. So then, on every turn, not everyone has to ask. So where am I in relation to, like, how closer do I need to get, and all that.
Yeah, and like especially with the movement speed, you know, it's hard to approximate that stuff when you don't have an actual map. You lose track of people,
Like,
so it's very good.
You don't need it for like outside. If it's anything with combat, it's very helpful. Other than that, you
Yeah.
don't really need one.
So my only problem with the board is we didn't have great game pieces. I mean, Drew had a great game piece. Drew had like a 3D printer or whatever, so he just like made a game piece. Tyler, Juan, and Jacob, I had like these little plastic dividers that I ended up sliding a piece of paper in, and I used those as their game pieces. So I'm gonna see if I can get Brody to use this 3D printer, and then maybe we can get those.
Actually,
you
don't worry about that because I may have a surprise coming up for you guys next session.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh.
We ought to get like some artists and just like design the characters like
Well, I drew my
draw
character the other day whenever you guys were bargaining. No. Whenever you guys went in the Xavier shop, I was just kind of chilling outside, so I drew up my character. So it's on a sheet somewhere. I think you still have it. So
But yeah, like
Well, I know-
don't worry about asking Brody because I got something
Yeah.
that works.
Okay. Well, I know Jacob is an artist, so he can draw up the characters, and then maybe you can use those as a reference for what we might want. I don't know. We'll see how things go. So again, we're in this warehouse. What's happening in the warehouse? It's pitch black.
There's chains.
What can you see?
Yeah, there's chains. There's a broken tractor, I believe, somewhere. Or it was
Wagon,
a truck.
yeah.
Yeah, wagon. Yeah. And so it was a broken wagon. It was very dark. You can't really see much. There's a bunch of boxes. And so you do see this crow-looking, a raven-looking figure. And it goes up the steps. You heard the pitter-patter of it. And so we all made a decision. We're like, well, what do we do? Well, a raven in the pitch black, that's probably not a good idea. So let's follow
We
it.
spent about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
though,
we are very bad
getting
at
into
this.
the
You guys are
building.
very indecisive. Like,
Like,
10
we,
minutes, 15 minutes bargaining with Volanthamp, 10 minutes, 15
We-
trying to decide how you're going to go in, and then 10, 15, are we going to split up, guys?
We
What?
split up and
No, we stuck together because we're.
No, we split up to go into the building for the
yes,
two
yes,
entrances,
yes.
and two of us walk in, and we're like going very slow, like every time we're like, we stealth. We're in stealth right now.
Mhm.
And then we come around, and then we're like, okay, we're going to peek around this corner a little bit, and then we go to the next one, and it was like, okay, we're gonna look back at the door, make sure there's nothing there, and then we finally let the other
See,
guys
one
in.
thing that I really loved, the entire time you guys were in this warehouse, you didn't make a single perception check. You're in a dark warehouse.
Well, that's what I thought the DM kind of just says.
Wait, no, I think
make a
yeah.
perception check.
We
I
made one in the
I said it once, but you guys did pretty bad on the perception check.
Well, I think
Well,
we
I feel
did
like
one
that's-
in the dead body room.
Oh.
You did one in the dead body room, but
Well, that was investigation. I said, like,
for
do
every
I see...
every
Oh,
other
yeah, you're
one
right,
where I
you're
was
right.
like, okay, the other people, the Ravens, they're doing something right now, so I need to make them do a perception check. You guys did terrible on those perception
Yeah.
checks.
I feel like the perception is like... Well, perception... like, investigation is looking for something.
Mhm.
So if we were said, like, can we see this or can we look for this, you would ask us to do it, investigation. But, like, perception is kind of like what you hear and, like, kind of the peripheral vision.
Mhm.
So I kind of see that as something like the DM's like, okay, make a perception check, or uses like passive perception to see if
Yeah, and
you're
it
going to
took
notice
it
something
actually
else.
took Juan's passive perception to notice that a raven was just behind the box near the staircase. So you find out that there's people here. It's not abandoned, and you're looking around for this person. You creep up the stairs and you smell the stench of just death and decay. And there's a raven that you don't know that's on the second floor, but also there's dead bodies everywhere.
Yeah, so we're looking for this foot guy. We know he's human, so we went to the dead body room and we did an investigation check and we found
Yeah,
out.
I looked for.
Yeah.
I searched through the dead bodies to find Fleck.
There's
Thankfully,
only,
passed the Constitution saving throw on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's only like goblins.
but yeah, he
and,
wasn't
like, other
dead, he
things
wasn't
in
there.
And so basically, we went down, and while we're in this dead body room, we're like all like, I'm pretty sure we're all just like yelling at each other, like, we need to find this man and all this kind of stuff. And then out of nowhere, we hear like at the door downstairs that we did not enter through.
Oh, I think we moved to the office.
No, not yet. No, because we ran to the office. That's what happened. And so whenever we were sitting in the dead body room, like arguing, we heard like a poof, poof, poof at the door, and it was like, "Hello, are you in there? Hello?" And like we heard that, and so we were like, "Uh-oh." And so we ran to the office, and we heard the boom again on the door, and it was like, "Hey, you don't need to be in there." And so we ran in the office. As soon as we ran in the office, we tripped over a wire, and these pots started clinging, started like just hitting each other, and it was just super loud.
And, thanks to Tyler's quick thinking, he's like, I grab it.
Yeah, I
That
grabbed it.
stopped the
Yeah, I
noise.
grabbed the string so it stopped it. But then the man that we didn't know who it was, he ran upstairs and we heard his feet, and
And then so he was like, we could hear him approaching the door. So I'm like, all right, guys, this is probably bad. This is not good.
we shouldn't
So
be here. Yeah.
me and Jacob, we line up on both sides of the door, and we're like, okay, we're like, we hold our attack. Like whatever walks in, no matter what, we're hitting. And we almost kill one of the most vital players in this.
I don't know if
franchise.
it's like 100% vital, but it's an important NPC, and they're really on edge. So like, we're gonna like fuck whoever walks through that door. They whack him right on the head, and then they're like, "Oh shit!" They like restrain him, and then they realize, "Oh, he might be on our side." And then Drew like lights his torch, and as he lights his torch again, they see like 4 ravens just standing on different corners of the room that they couldn't see before because they didn't do a perception check. And then they all just run towards the commissioner and just start trying to stab him in the chest or whatever. And then we start combat, obviously.
Yes.
A lot of devastating blows, a lot of really satisfying kills there. My favorite
My favorite moment in that was when
It's
the
probably gonna be the
commissioner
same.
grabs the raven,
tries to run through the door to hit him against
but then
the wall.
by moving the raven away from my range, I get an attack of opportunity. So as the commissioner grabs the raven and tries to like slam him up against the wall,
You
hit
literally
my
brain this fucking raven. dude.
and then the commissioner carries him out into the hall, but it's dead now. So I just yell out, "You're welcome."
He was like, "That one was mine, you piece of shit." And I love that. I love that. So you guys kill all these ravens.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things in the combat is like, I wish like people would do like dialogue in the combat more. It's a lot of fun to see that.
Yeah. A lot of good banter going on with the combat from time to time.
Stupid fucking chickens.
Yeah, but you see, every time you did the banter, you would miss your whatever.
That's true.
That's true.
So
That's
I mean,
true.
maybe the banter it throws off your concentration. You know, you don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
You're getting too cocky. You're a level 1 monk. You can't talk shit. Yeah. So you guys get finished with killing all these ravens, and you eventually begin to talk with this commissioner, but from downstairs you hear, "Hey, help me! Help me! What the fuck?" And then you guys run downstairs, and you're like, "Oh, we had to look for Fleck." And you see this storage closet that's like locked with a chain. Jacob, he's like, "I'm gonna break the chain."
My man
He
does
takes a
rock, paper,
fist and he
scissors
just
on
like karate chops this like metal chain right in half. And as soon as he does that, this guy busts out and he's like, "Get the fuck away from me! All of you, just stand the fuck back!" And you guys are like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Who the hell are you?" Because you're not sure if it's Fleck or somebody else yet. And then you're like, "He's not here. Fleck isn't here. Jesus Christ. What was this?" So what did this guy, who is this guy?
Well,
Where did he come from? And what does he tell you?
Well, before we beat up the commissioner, well, actually, no, it was after we beat up the commissioner. After we beat up the commissioner, he was looking for the mayor's son. He was a noble son.
And that's who this ended up being.
Yeah, I forget his name. What was his name?
It was Ranier.
Ranier, yes, he was looking for him, and so before we beat him up, we hit the commissioner across the side of the head, and he was like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" He was like, "Man, I'm looking for this guy. His name's Ranier. Have you seen him?" And we're like, "Ranier, no." And so basically, we were like, and then we fought the ravens, and we went downstairs, and the guy comes out, and he's like, "Get away from me!" And then we're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I'm Ranier." And then we're like, "Oh, so you're that guy." And so basically, we're like, "Well, I'm glad the commissioner found him, but we're still looking for Fleck." And so basically, this Ranier guy, he's ginger, and he's kind of tall, and he's best friends with Fleck, and basically him and Fleck look the same. And so there was information about Fleck knew. No. There was
That
information.
Ranier.
Yeah. There's
Well, no,
information.
he didn't know it. They thought he might know it because
No.
he's the mayor's son.
Fleck, no. Fleck knew information, or something like that. I don't know. But then
I think it was Ranier. Or
What
they
was it?
thought he would know the information, being the mayor's son.
yeah,
But
that was it.
they thought Fleck was Ranier.
Yeah, because they looked like identical. He was ginger, Fleck was ginger.
Yeah.
So they made the mistake, and
Yeah,
someone.
you know how all ginger people look alike.
Yeah, that's factual. I mean, none of us have souls. So I mean, what's the difference, really? So evidently, there was some sort of interception that occurred between these Raven people and some other gang, right? So what revelations came to light with respect to this gang war?
So yeah, we found out a lot from this one Ranier guy. So there's a gang war going on in the Undermountain. So this is basically just the labyrinth of sewers underneath the city, and they're all looking for this stone hidden inside the Undermountain. And so we find out between this gang war, between the Zinthween, right?
Zinthrim,
and the Grey Fiery. Is that?
gray, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget right now.
And we find out that the leader of one of them is a mind flayer, and the leader of that mind flayer, or the mind flayer, is being controlled by the beholder Xanathar. So at this point, we're level 1 characters. We're like, oh fuck, we're not ready for this.
You're in some deep shit already. And here's another thing that I just thought of reading off, because after you killed the ravens, you searched their bodies, you found a little gold, a little bit of silver, but you also found a sort of note on one of the ravens with respect to the transit of Ranier or Fleck. So this is what it says: forfeiture notice, Tarsak 15th. In transit between Zadash and Waterdeep, we lost track of the stone. We're almost certain that it came on the first triester, but to be certain, double check our stores on Candle. If you find the boy, beat the information out of him. If he squeals, kill him. So, what was this stone? What was the significance of this stone?
The Stone of Galore, I believe.
Yes.
Worth 500,000 gold.
Well, it wasn't the stone that was worth.
The stone was like a
500,000.
map, so it basically led you to the 500,000 gold. Right?
Yeah.
Correct?
What Ranier told you is that this is essentially a component to scry to see the $500,000 gold pieces that are hid somewhere in the Undermountain.
Yeah, so it was like the stone before Thanos snapped. Like he couldn't snap without the stone, but now he's got the stone, so now he can snap.
I'm curious what a beholder wants with material gold.
That's a good question.
I guess
I'm
we'll
sure
have to
we'll have to
more to
find
find
out.
out
next
I don't
time.
know. I don't know. And maybe we will do another episode of this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But you guys wrap up with this, and the commissioner's like, all right, so I need to take this back to HQ, but I need to know where you guys are staying, and I need names for all of you.
Oh
So
my
instead of giving us our names, we just gave them the name of our group, which we
It's not
decided
set
on.
in stone yet, because
The-
I'm not a big fan of it, no lie, but that's alright.
Fantastic, uber cool nights.
Or
The fucks for short.
yes.
Yeah. We can workshop it. There can be a little bit of work on that name
Possibly.
because
maybe
fucks.
maybe it'll grow on me. I don't mind it. It's just like I feel like we can come up with a more badass name. you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
I agree. I mean, I was just scribbling down acronyms at the really quickly
I
because
mean, there's
we had to wrap up the session soon.
yeah.
So I was like, I just came up with some adjectives that fit these letters. I was like, that works. The fucks.
Well, I mean, there's nothing saying that D&D group names can't be cheesy. Like the Mighty Nine and Critical Role. That's kind of cheesy because it's based off of a German character that's like, we are the Mighty Nine or whatever. So I mean, maybe it will grow on me too, but we'll see. We'll see in the weeks to come. So
Yeah,
you guys,
and, I mean, I did kind of get the inspiration from Critical Role too, because I don't know if you know, but Campaign 1, they were the shits
they were the shits.
for the super high intensity team.
See, I'm gonna get Matthew Mercer. He's gonna be a guest star in one of our on our episodes actually. So he'll be the episode right after Badlands Booker. So you guys go back to the bar. You check in on Volanthamp, and you're like, "This is a lot deeper than we originally thought." Or that's my impression of Carrick. And then
It's
you
close.
guys, yeah, it's close. I'll be working on it eventually when I like impersonate you and like. When you're gone for a session. I don't know. Anyways, we drew our session to a close after that because Drew and I, we wanted to watch the Democratic debate that night that was happening in New Hampshire. But the talk of treasure and all the gang wars, it seemed to have left you on the edge of your seat, which I'm very proud of. So I'll be excited to do this again.
I'm excited.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun. So that's the episode on D&D. You guys have anything cool that happened to you this week?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. So we went. So my car had an alignment problem with it. So if you don't know what that means if you're driving and it pulls to the right or if it pulls to the left with like if you're just not on the wheel, that means it's got an alignment problem.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a tire pressure problem. So like don't
Yeah.
like immediately think that. But so that was happening to my car. So we took it to the shop, and so it was at like 10 o'clock this morning. And I was actually kind of late to the show because of this. But so we took it at 10 o'clock this morning, and then it was ready around 12 or so. And so around 1:30 we left to go. No, not 1:30. It was like 3 o'clock that we went. And so we went to 3 o'clock, and we got there, and we're like, yo, where's my car at? But like we couldn't do anything yet because there was a guy in front of us. This man, I'm telling you, I don't know what he did to his car. But we were sitting there, and we were talking, and this man was talking, and he was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is it. and then the guy was like, look, buddy, I need to see your car because like this is how it's going to be. And his car was right outside. And so he was like, man, I was mudding because like it was raining the past couple of days. And so like that's perfect mudding weather. He was like, so we went out mudding, and I think I hit a rock. I don't know what I did. I don't know. It just like made a clunking sound. I don't know. And the guy was like freaking out, and it was actually funny. And like I was like trying to like figure out like what this man do with his car. So we look outside, and you know how like if you turn to like the right, how the left wheel goes like inward.
Yeah.
Well, this man had both wheels going inward like this.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And so it was kind of interesting because like I've never seen a car do that. And the guy was just like looking at it. He was like scratching his head. He was like, okay. He was like, well, you're gonna have to leave it around like 3 o'clock. We'll probably have it ready for you in the next couple of days. He's like, but I've never seen something like that bad. And so he was like, oh man, I don't know what to do. All this kind of stuff. And the guy asked him, he was like, well, how'd you drive it here? And so the guy was like, well, he was like, I kind of like pulled it. And then they were like, okay, so that's kind of cool. But it was like this giant truck. So I'm wondering how they pulled this giant truck with, I guess they just did it with another truck. I don't know. But it was kind of interesting seeing 2 wheels inward like that because You don't see it on a car.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're gonna have to do an episode on cars because we have a lot of car guys at our school. You know what I'm saying? We've got Rajan, we've got Toma, we've got Scott Buey, whose speakers are just like just fucking so loud. So I mean, 2020 is the year dudes rock.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to make an episode on cars. But until then, salutations to all of you. That's the episode. Oh, that is the
Master has placed you in a dreadfully precarious position. You're playing the most phenomenal game ever created. Your skin grows cold from your first glimpse of the enormous beast. It's a product of your imagination. Survival depends on a quick, decisive move. Your choices are limited. Stand and fight, or run. Use your lightning bolt. Victory is yours.
Win the treasure.
TSR Hobbies, Dungeons & Dragons games. Products of your imagination.